Hey you guys, it's Dani. Today we are going to be talking about Tarot of the Divine Masculine. This is Vasich and Vasich, Marco and Philip, who designed and created this deck. I am super excited to review this deck. I was contacted by Marco and he asked if I would be interested, and I jumped on this opportunity because I really felt like this was a fantastic deck that was one of a kind, and I couldn't wait to get it in my hands. So I just feel like no one is talking about, like, this should be talked about so much more than it is, and I'm just really excited to show you guys and to talk a little bit about this because I've been using it for over a month now because I really wanted to work with this deck before I talked about it, because I just feel like it was an important deck to have, right? So before we go into all the specifics, why don't we take a quick flip through on the desk? So let's start this review with the box itself, because this is a beautiful box. The colors, the starry sky, I love the whole vibe. It's so rich and colorful. Like, the box is just as rich and colorful as the cards are, and I love that. We even have this like tree scene along the side, all these stars. We have the elemental symbols everywhere, which, like, when you open it, which is magnetic, I love those. It actually has the back of the card on the box itself, and these are some cool backs because it very much reminds me of Game of Thrones, and I mean, that's a win in my book. You know what I mean? So we have like these wolves, it looks like a boar, some stags, salmon, eagles, and this is mirrored, so it's reversible, so I really do love that. Now these are a standard size tarot. Inside we have this little sigil with the elements, the elemental symbols down here. And this stands for, from here, the way leads to the stars. I don't know how to pronounce it properly, so I'm not going to even attempt. But that's what it translates to. So, really nice box. Let's talk about what's in here. So we have the Divine Masculine little white book. We'll go into this towards the end when we pick a card. But we do get this with the deck. And then, oh, these cards. Look at this. I call it edging. It's not really gilding because it's not shiny. It is this like matte brown that goes along really well with the backs, and I'm super in love with it. And I've used this a lot since I've gotten it because I really wanted to get a feel for this deck, and man, it's holding up really well. More so than some of the shiny gildings that I've used before that kind of wear even when you use it regularly for a short amount of time, they start to wear. But this is beautiful. Okay, so before we get into it, we do have, there's kind of like a title card, but it has the patrons on it. So these are 5 patrons who supported the project at the top level, so they are kind of put in here. And you'll notice even on this there is a stamp. There is a foil stamp on all of the cards for authenticity. So it is embossed in there, it's foiled, so you know that this is a true deck. There is a little blue border around the cards, but it does not impede anything at all. I actually really like it. It kind of sets it and pops the artwork in the center. So yeah, you can see that they're not in order. I will put them in order before we look through them, but I just kind of wanted to talk about that real quick. So, before we get into it, let me go ahead and put these all back in order, since I totally, like I said, I've been using these forever since I got it. And then we can take a look at the cards real quick. As we begin, you'll note here that Intuition and the Protector have changed instead of the High Priestess and the Empress. The only other change that they made were to the queens, and that's going to be the keepers now. So there'll be the Keeper of the Cups, Keeper of the Swords, and so on. my goodness. Tell me that is not gorgeous. Ugh. Can I just say, I mean, number one, they shuffle like a dream. But man, the colors on these cards, I mean, the video does not do it justice. These are so vibrant and so full of depth. Like, I was legit blown away when I opened this and I looked at these cards. Like, the greens, the teals, they just pop off of the the card. I mean, it's really beautiful. They shuffle really well. They bend really well. And I mean, they're pretty thick when it comes to cards. Like, they're a thick card stock. But you can still manipulate them, right? So you can still bend them well. Even though, I mean, it is a bigger deck, you can see just by the thickness in my hands that they're a thicker card stock, but they move really well. And the front has this like rose petally finish, but it's not super sticky. Like, the backs don't really have the same rose petal style finish. It's more just a matte. But like, even with that, you can tell by the way they move that they don't stick, you know? They still glide really well, which I enjoy. And I find they're easy to hold. So no matter which way you like to shuffle, I just find they move really well. And they don't clump up as much. I mean, it's still a rose petally finish, so it's not going to be... So it's not going to be perfect, because, I mean, they do have a tendency to kind of come together a bit, but it still moves. It's not super thick, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. The coating is not super thick. Okay, so let's pick a card and talk about the guidebook now. Okay, we have the King of Swords. So let's start with the little white book. So this is a basic little book. We have our Latin phrase again. There's an intro, of course, the same old, like using your deck, things like that. We have a couple of spreads. And then we go into the major arcana, and then they talk a little bit about the minor arcana. Now here and in the bigger book, when they talk about the minor arcana, in the main page they talk about diamonds as earth, but they did change it to pentacles. So it only says that in like the minor arcana info page, but everything else in their kingdoms, because each of their suits are called kingdoms, they're called pentacles. So, which is no big deal for me. I mean, I get it. Things change. So anyway, let's look up the King of Swords. So in this little white book, we get silhouettes for each, and it's more of a basic card meaning. Even for the major arcana, they're pretty basic. But every one of them, in minors, majors, all of them have a question that goes along with it, which I really like. So our King of Swords, let's talk about this. It says, I am the oldest of all the kings from the four kingdoms. Nowadays, I spend my time by contemplating the life cycles. Use your logic and make firm decisions. You can see the truth clearly. Are you using logic and experience when deciding? So again, we have a basic little white book, basic meanings, but they all have questions, which I really like. And then if you've noticed, they have like the king, the numbers, all of the suits and stuff all have like the numbers or what they are on one side, and then the suit kind of symbol on the other. So let's grab this beautiful book. Ugh. So can we talk about it first? So this has one of those like cushy covers on it, and it has all this like gloss like, I just want to touch it, like, this, like, glossy kind of print on the front and on the back. Oh, so well done. It's got a ribbon here that you can use. So before we find that, I just want to show you guys. This one has a foreword from Stephen Bright. We have painting, the introduction. And you can see here, look, the 4 kingdoms. It says diamond here, but it goes into the rest. It talks about the changes for the high priestess and the empress. And so when we get into, like, full color pages, y'all, this is just so beautiful. And there's so much depth. And as funny as it is, I find that even in the book, the cards are so bright and vibrant. Like, even the book has nothing on the deck. It's amazing. But anyway, so on the Emperor, you can see, just like on each one of the majors, we have this, I call it a little poem from the beginning. Then you have kind of your meanings, and the hermit right here, it kind of talks about the hermit stands upon the precipice. It talks about what you're seeing, right? So not only do we have, like, our stories and our meanings, we have a little poem, and we have what's going on in each card. So then we go to the minors, and again we get we don't have the poem, but we get a title. So each one of the minors has a title that goes along with it. And then we get what's going on and then a meaning. So again, really well done. I use the crap out of this book because I love the stories. Like, some of them even flow into, like, oh, you know, such and such was doing this on the 4 of Wands, but now this is happening. Like, some of them kind of tie into what's happening with the kingdoms. So I really just enjoy this book. It was done really, really well. Oh, it's so beautiful. So King of Swords, we have clarity of mind. So again, let's read about this. So this is what the book says. Again, we go to the same opening line. I am the oldest of all the kings from the sacred garden. Nowadays I spend my time by contemplating the life cycles, and I remember my own past, when I was arrogant and impatient, which fills me sometimes with sorrow and regret. I still have stern looks, but now there is a touch of melancholy to it. The King of Swords sits among the clouds, a manifestation of message from the divine. He points with his right hand, the hand of the rational mind. But look, the clouds and winds here are calm, unlike on the previous cards from this kingdom. Stability has come after times of confusions and change. Butterflies are all around, symbolizing transformation and a change of the way of thinking. Stand firm in your truth. Since you have the authority and stability, there's not much sympathy in you for others. Use your logic and make firm decisions. You can see the truth clearly. So you can see that it has similar things and similar lines as the Little White Book does, but it very much expands. Like, they talk about the clouds, and you can see it says, like, some of the other, you know, the clouds were swirling and moving in these different ways, whereas here it's stable. So it kind of brings in, again, what's going on in the suit and what's happening in the picture. And it was just really well done. And I'm so incredibly impressed. If I'm being honest, I didn't know at first when I first started seeing it and saw it on Kickstarter and stuff. I was like, man, I really love the idea of the divine masculine, but I just don't know. Oh, sorry, my book fell. Anyway, so when I first saw this deck and I read about it and what it was going to be, I was really excited to see it, but I wasn't sure. I was like, is this something I'm going to be able to connect with? Is it something that I'm going to feel that I can use? And 100% I can say absolutely. I've used the hell out of this. It is such a balanced deck, even though we are in the divine masculine, right? That is where we are. It is still balanced within that. You can still feel that masculine, feminine vibe. Like, and then you have, this is one of my favorite cards, the Seven of Cups. Like, this person standing on the rocks, there is this mist going over them. It is very fluid and very androgynous, and it being the Seven of Cups really speaks to that illusion, like that illusion of gender. It's not about that. It's about the flow of energy, this masculine, this feminine, and how it intertwines, and the different facets of the masculinity. And these images they just work. Intuition is gorgeous, and it just shows a different side of masculinity that sometimes is villainized. And so I was just like, at first I was like, what is this going to be? What is it going to look like? How is it going to feel? And it feels balanced and beautiful, and I just feel like this should be talked about so much more. There is so much to this deck. I am legit fangirling. More so than I have in a long time over a deck. It really surprised me in the depth. I mean, it was beautiful. I knew that it was going to be beautiful, but man, it was just all around really well done, from the images to the production quality to the book that you can get. It's just superb. So, okay. Speaking of this, let's talk about what I paired it with. Oh, because that was really fun too. So let me go grab my stuff and we will talk about what I paired the Divine Masculine with. Okay, first up, Oracle. I paired this with Soul cards. The balance of color together really worked well with this deck. Y'all know we upside down. Y'all know. So while we're not, I mean, this is in no way, shape, or form like an identical art form or anything like that, but man, it really flowed well because of the balance in here and the shift to that Divine Masculine and the exploration of it. The Soul cards on that level really worked well with this. It gave me a place to expand and, like I said, explore this deck in a different way and really dive into this Divine Masculine side in its tender and raw and vulnerable forms, as well as the more action and dominating and kind of authoritative vibes that it can sometimes have. It really did help kind of get that moderation in all of the energies. And so I really thought that it was really great as an assistant, right, to this deck. So the next oracle that I used was Threads of Fate. So I have the Rose edition, and I just thought that it really allowed these cards to breathe. It didn't take away from it. It was a complementary color no matter which way I went. So it didn't, it's like it highlighted the cards themselves and kind of had this muted kind of anchor to go off of. So I thought that it was a really good contrast, and it really kept the tarot in the forefront, and again use these as an anchor for it. Like this Five of Swords, having the ancestors there, it's like there are some things that happen in the past that might be linked to our ancestors or our roots, and it's like it anchored whatever was going on. So like this is my anchoring deck with Tarot of the Divine Masculine. Oh, just look at that. Reclaim and Temperance. Oh, I love it. Love it. Destruction and the Five of Pentacles. Oh, do you see what I mean? It like anchors it and you can like explore it. Oh, exploration is the name of the game for this deck, 100%. And last but certainly not least, I paired this with what I feel is to be my masculine deck, what I had dubbed my masculine deck before, and that is the Fountain Tarot. OMG. This together was everything. It was my absolute favorite. I mean, just this alone, you can really see the dynamic between these two. Well, these have a tendency to be like straight lines, very streamlined, sometimes cold, but very action-oriented, very pointy, if you will, pointy art. With this, which really has these curves and flows and everything just kind of wraps around, the color wraps around, where this has a tendency to be a little more flat, and the contrast was beautiful. And I just felt like it really played off of each other in the sense like, here is the more rigid, this is the more fluid. I mean, OMG. Oh, I love it so much. These just played off of each other so well. I mean, look, even the colors, like these colors come out and you just see it next to it. If I have to say, this is probably my least favorite card because I feel like it's so different from everything else. This one, and probably, I mean, I like it. The Six of Cups with the two kids on the swing. I guess because everything else just feels more primal. But, I mean, look at the Star and the Ace of Wands. We even have the similar postures here. Four of Pentacles, Four of Cups. Our two fours. Can you tell I had the best time with this? Oh, never gets old. I mean, okay. Y'all get it. So, okay. I think I'm done gushing about this deck. I really do honestly believe that this deck is a must-have. I really do. It is so thought out, so well done, and so unique. Like, I really do feel like we need more of this divine masculine energy when it comes to our decks. And so, I mean, I just have to say thank you to these guys for delivering this to us and putting this out in the world. It is a spectacular deck. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really hope that you enjoyed this review and walkthrough of Tarot the Divine Masculine. Please drop some comments. Let me know what you think. I would really love to hear your thoughts on this deck. I am just, I don't know. I have a crush on this deck. I really do. I absolutely do. So I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say about it. Do you have it? Do you like it? Is it something that you want to add to your wish list? Let us know in the comments. Let's start a little chat. If you are looking for me, and if you're looking to find your own copy of Tarot of the Divine Masculine, please look in my description down below. It's got that information, my Instagram, Etsy, how to book a reading, how to get your hands on Pear Tree Court or Mystic Masters, and 3 Fat Readers. You guys know the drill. It's all down there. All of it. So I will see you all very soon. I'm sending you all my love. Mwah! Later, Gators.